It's probably obvious to most that I'm a big fan of Kumiko. It's a very cool woodworking technique, but I've often wondered about making it with metal. With the help of a few friends, we did make some gates last year, but they were a lot of work, and I've had the idea for a while of experimenting with smaller panels. I'm not sure how it will work, but let's give it a go. For the Kumiko, I'll use these nails. They're pretty cheap and they'll be ideal, but first I'll make a template from plywood. I'll put grooves in that to lay the nails into and then weld them together to make a panel. I've printed the pattern out. I've done it in two colours to try and keep things simple. The green is the triangular grid and the orange is the pattern pieces that fill out the grid. I printed out the full A4 page, but I'll make the panel a touch smaller. To make the grooves, I'll use a router and a V-groove bit. I'll start with the green lines first, and I'll use this piece of plywood as a fence to guide the router. I also cut another piece of plywood, and the width of that is from the edge of the router to the centre of the bit, and I'll use that to set the fence in the correct position. That worked very well. Now I just need to get into it and do the rest of them. The grooves don't have to be V-grooves at all, and I did think about making them on the table saw. That would have been difficult to do though, as the pattern would have been face down. It wouldn't be impossible, but I reckon this way I'm doing it is easier. That's the green lines done, and just to keep things simple, I'll mark those grooves with a green Sharpie. There's twice as many orange lines, and because I'm going to use thinner nails for the filling pieces, I'm making those grooves a little shallower. It didn't take too long at all to cut all of the grooves, but a CNC would be handy here. If I ever do get a CNC, and I am thinking about it, I'll try and show alternative methods like this just to show that it isn't completely necessary. Still, it would be handy at times for certain tasks. Not every bit of the orange lines are used in making up the pattern. Each green triangle has 3 pieces in it. That really didn't take too long at all. Next, I'll start preparing the nails, and I couldn't find any uncoated ones. These bright ones will have to do. They have some sort of thin coating on them. I'm not sure what it is, but it should come off with some hydrochloric acid. I mix the acid with 3 parts water, and I'm doing this outside. I'm wearing a respirator and glasses too. While the nails sit in the acid, I'll prepare a neutralising bath with baking soda. I only left them 2 minutes and then put them in the soda bath to stop the acid working any further. This did a great job stripping every bit of coating off them, and here you can see the difference next to some fresh ones. Next, the nails need cutting down to the correct size pieces. There's only 2 sizes, one for the triangle grid where I'll use 4.5mm thick nails, and for the other pieces I'll use 3mm nails. I'll cut the head of the nail off first using bolt cutters, and then I'll flip it over and cut a piece to length. I'm just doing a test fit here, and the small pieces are a little too long, so I'll re-drill the hole for those, not quite as deep. I tested them and they were much better, so now I can cut the rest of them, and I started to put a rag on the nails so they didn't fly off to every corner of the workshop. That's all the small ones done. The thicker nails take a bit more effort to cut, but these cheap bolt cutters did the job. I was going to make a shear for the fly press to do these, but then I thought I should show a simple method that anyone can do, but it would have been much more fun on the fly press. Now that the pieces are cut, I can lay them all out ready for welding. They're very easy to nudge out of position, and if I were to do this again, I would definitely make the grooves deeper. They're staying in there though if I'm careful, so hopefully I can manage. I just need to cut a few pieces to fit along two of the edges. I've had this can of anti-spatter spray for some time. I've never tried it, so I thought it might be worth a go here. I've just welded this plate to attach the earth clamp to, and hopefully it will work by placing it on top of the Kumiko. It wasn't looking the best at first. I was putting far too much heat into it with too big a weld, but I soon got it working by just tacking the pieces lightly and moving around so not to get it too hot in one place. I've decided to just weld the front as the back really doesn't need it. I still need to clean it up and weld out the centres and anywhere where I miss, but overall I don't think it's too bad. It's definitely experimental. I'm not 100% sure what to make of it, but I do have a panel. There was a few pieces that didn't line up 100%, but the main reason for that is I didn't make the grooves deep enough, especially for the centre filling parts, and it only needed the slightest touch and they'd come out of place, so I'd definitely make those deeper if I were to do it again. But I still think I could make a few more panels with this. I got it a bit hot at first and some of the pieces were curling up and not sitting straight, but as soon as I started tacking it, and I was doing a couple of tacks on this one and then moving over and doing a couple there and coming back to it, that worked out fine. So anyway, I'll clean it up and weld it out again. That's made a huge difference. I reckon it actually looks pretty good now. The worst thing is these edges. I shouldn't have done that with small pieces. That was a bad idea. I'm going to zip those off, and I've got this 6mm round bar, and I'm going to weld that around the edges. A couple of small pieces broke off, which I re-welded off camera. The half buttons didn't turn out as well as the full ones, so I did some grinding on those, but other than that, I left it as it is. I spent about 5 minutes chipping off weld spatter. I'm not sure if the spray actually did anything, or maybe I just didn't put enough on. To finish it, I'm going to heat it up and apply some boiled linseed oil. That actually turned out better than I thought it would, and halfway through when I started welding, I thought it was going to be a disaster, and I thought I was going to have to ditch the project. It was a fun experiment. I'm really happy with how it turned out. I'll definitely use it in future projects. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.